I'd like to reconvene the meeting of the City Council Public Financing Authority. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Kalmick. Here. Councilmember Mosier.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Vandermark.
Here.
Mayor Strickland.
Here.
Councilmember McKeon.
Here.
Councilmember Bolton.
Here.
Councilmember Burns.
Here.
All present.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Today it's going to be led by Councilman Pat Burns.
Please say the Pledge of Allegiance with me. Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Invocation.
Okay, next we have our invocation. Let's see, where is it? Huntington Beach Police and Fire Department Chaplain Roger Wade.
Would you please pray with me as we begin tonight's City Council meeting? God, you tell us in your word that the Lord's blessings are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. And we truly are blessed people, being privileged to live in a free country and in our beautiful community of Huntington Beach. We do have so very, very much to be thankful for, and we want to remember that and thank you for it as we begin tonight's meeting. Lord, we pray that you would guide and direct each council member this evening as they deliberate over and deal with the items on the agenda. Lord, may you give them wisdom, patience, understanding, and lead them, we pray, to the conclusions that are best for our city and that most honors you. It really is healthy to have council members with different perspectives as it presents issues and alternatives that will hopefully lead to more effective decisions that will best serve our city. As these different views are discussed, may you, God, bring unity and harmony to our city council. May we all respect and listen as these different views are being shared. There will be a variety of thoughts and perspectives that are going to be presented tonight at the podium. May you, Lord, lead and guide each speaker to share their insights and perspectives clearly, concisely, and with respect. And may all the views that are shared be received and considered as a part of the decision-making process. Heavenly Father, we ask your blessing and protection on every member of our HB family as we prepare to enter the very busy summer season. May you watch over our city and each and every member of our police, fire, and marine safety family as they so faithfully serve and protect all of us. Lord, we ask your blessing, provision, encouragement, and protection on each council member and their families. We ask your guidance, wisdom for each of our city leaders and for all of our city employees who so faithfully and diligently serve us all. Lord, won't you bless our meeting this evening, and may your peace and wisdom guide all that occurs tonight. And we ask this in your wonderful name, Lord. Amen.
Okay, members, our City Attorney Michael Gates is in trial in Riverside, and so Mike Vigliota is here on behalf of the City Attorney's Office. So, City Attorney's Office, do we have anything to report?
Thank you, Mayor. Nothing tonight.
Okay. City Clerk, do we have any supplemental communications?
Yes, we do. For my report, just a PowerPoint that was provided to council on tonight's fireworks stand lottery. For consent item 17, I submitted a memorandum that provided you assurance that FPPC form was posted in order to move forward with a revision to the council liaison list. We received 5 email communications regarding legislation pending before the state legislature. That's consent item 18. Consent item 20, an email communication received regarding ATM services at City Hall. The other items are for public hearing later in the meeting.
Thank you. City Clerk, do we have any public comments?
Yes, I think we're about 15 signed up. So I'm going to call the first group of 10. Please come down and approach both podiums. Robert Weber, Brian Turner, Mary Jo Baratish, Luann Nichols, Janine Johnson, Tim Geddes, Pat Goodman, Amory Hansen, Jean Ferens.
Thank you. Before we go forward on public comments, I have to make this announcement. At this time, the City Council will receive comments from members of the public regarding any topic, including items on the open session agenda. Individuals wishing to provide a comment may do so in person by filling out the request to speak form delivered to the city clerk. All speakers are encouraged but not required to identify themselves by name. Each speaker may have up to 3 minutes unless the volume of speakers warrants reducing the time of allowance. Please note that the Brown Act does not allow any discussions or action on topics that are not on the agenda. Members of the public who wish to speak directly with the council member on any item not on the agenda may consider scheduling an appointment by contacting the City Council's administrative assistant at 714-536-5553 or emailing the entire City Council at city.council@surfcity-hb.org. And now, thanks so much for being here. Public comments.
My name is Brian Turner. I live in La Cuesta by the Sea, a PUD at the corner of Beach and Atlanta, and I'm requesting help in dealing with the increasing number of homeless people living in their vehicles primarily on Atlanta between Beach and Delaware, and on Delaware around Manning Park. Last week on Atlanta, there was a jug of urine and feces in the decorative area, the landscaped area around our complex. We reported that on the website to the homeless group. We got a response that they were sending officers out to check. The day after we reported it was street sweeping day, and obviously the police didn't find any vehicles. And furthermore, they promised to send the Public Works group to clean up the stuff, and Public Works came back and said that the area between the sidewalk and the wall was private property. Now this is absolutely contrary to their position about a year ago when the city came in and in laying lines down Atlanta, damaged several $1,000s worth of decorative lighting that expressed there. We followed that up a year ago, and this is not my, really I'm talking about the homeless situation. We just need to find a way to deal with this. About 3 years ago, we had the same problem on Delaware around Manning Park, and we were very successful in dealing with the police department at that time, who were very diligent, and we solved the problem. It seems to have come back again. That's all I have to say. We just like some assistance and maybe a point of contact with the police department where we can actually speak to someone rather than communicate in a written form.
Wonderful, and I know we'll, if I might, we'll forward that on to the chief of police. And the fact is that you spoke here publicly. I wrote down exactly the corner, so thank you.
Mr. Turner, can you fill out a blue card?
Yes.
Yeah.
The sergeant at arms is going to give you a blue card.
Thank you. Next speaker, thanks for being here.
My name is Luann Nichols, and my family has been living in Huntington Beach since all of you were ever born. Last week, I spent 2 days downtown, and I want to thank the police department for making it a more friendly environment for the citizens of Huntington Beach. I understand that this is very challenging because what most Huntington Beach citizens don't know is not all businesses have signed the form to have the homeless removed from their property, and that we get a load of new homeless dropped off downtown in the middle of the night once or twice a week. But all things considered, it is much better. I saw only one homeless person and no one hanging around the planters soliciting for money for drugs. As a matter of fact, no one hassled us on Main Street, not even in the parking lot. Thank you, Chief, and your team for all your hard work. I also noticed that Main Street is cleaner, not so helter-skelter, and the most amazing part was all of the planters had flowers in them. It does make it a more pleasant environment and more welcoming for our visitors. I like Main Street opened up, and what do you know, we still have outdoor dining. Wow. So I want to thank Gracie, Tony, Casey, and Pat for opening up Main Street and cleaning it up. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, thanks for being here.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Mary Jo Baratage. I'm a 40-year homeowner in Huntington Beach. I'm here this evening to speak on item 18 regarding the council's recommendation to not support Assembly Bill AB 1035, the Mobile Home Affordability Act. This particular bill has been placed on hold by the chair of the Assembly Committee and is now becoming a 2-year bill. But I'm concerned as to why you recommended to not support this very fair bill. The 2-year version of this bill will be amended to support a fair return on the park owner's investments. That was already a possibility amendment to the bill, along with a few other necessary modifications that the bill had not been placed, if the bill had not been placed on hold. Out of the nearly 1 million mobile home residents in the state, approximately 625 mobile home park residents in the state of California are not under any form of rent stabilization or rent control and are affected by the placing of a hold on this bill, and which happened in the Housing Committee. We need your support with this bill because if they come alive once more next year, to quote the author of AB 1035, Assemblymember Al Muratuzzi, the bigger problem is that homelessness is clearly a statewide crisis, and the mobile homes are the one last remaining affordable housing option that the state, with many seniors choosing to live in these mobile homes, either out by choice or by necessity. We also know, this is from Al, we also know that seniors are tragically the fastest growing segment of homeless population, and we need to do everything we can to protect seniors living on fixed incomes, and that's from the author of the bill. Even if this bill is no longer moving this year, for the record, please change your support to positive. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Next speaker, thanks for being here.
Strickland, good evening, and council members, Pat Goodman from Huntington Beach. And I just speaking about agenda item number 8 and ask for your support on 3 of the bills, AB 4, AB 68, and AB 1035, which I'm sure you'll hear more comments from the residents. AB 4 would allow any religious or higher education institution to develop affordable housing on their property by right and thus avoid costly delays and streamlining permitting processes. Many faith leaders want to offer solutions to the housing crisis they witness every day. Often their campus may offer surplus or underutilized property to provide affordable housing. This may provide a steady income source to the institution by leasing land for the development of the housing. And I'm familiar with a couple of projects in Orange County. One is in Garden Grove at United Methodist Church there, and they have a 47-unit affordable housing that went in 2017. And the first level has like a daycare center. So they have a little bit others or some other sources of revenue. And the other one At least a portion of it would have been affordable, is in Midway City at the Brothers of St. Patrick property. Please support AB 68. That will help alleviate California's housing crisis and reduce climate change risk by streamlining approvals for new homes near jobs, schools, transit, and other resources, and in areas local governments have already identified as a priority for infill housing. And I think Beach Edinger corridor would qualify for this or benefit from this bill. I'd also like to ask you to review your vote against approving the housing element at the March 21st meeting. It's very distressing, I would say. I hope that you will find a way to support it and at the same time pursue any legal challenges to the state and its RENA methodology. I'm very concerned about the financial issues the city will face without a housing element and chaos it creates in our planning for new housing, community development, and the business climate in the city. Please find a way to pass the housing element for the sake of all Huntington Beach residents and the services provided by the city through funding tied to the housing element. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next speaker, thanks for being here.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Tim Geddes, and in 6 months, I'll be a 40-year resident of Southeast Huntington Beach. I was outraged when I heard that the second City Council meeting of last month was canceled because all 4 of the council majority members chose to be absent on that day. I was also upset that the city acquiesced to this dereliction of duty. It is not, I repeat, not usual to have council member political junkets out of state involving more than the mayor and even the mayor pro tem, while at the same time allowing another council member to take vacation time out of the country. If one of the council majority becomes sick or unavailable at a future meeting, will the rest of the council majority members find an excuse to be absent to avoid having a quorum in which the minority 3 members could preside? Is that the way this council majority rolls? Does this group even care about its constituents and the citizenry in general, or only about its own interests? By the way, has the council majority settled on a new policy to diversify council meeting invocations? Once again, police and fire chaplain Roger Wing has been trotted out for a lengthy invocation. This time it was only 2.5 minutes, which is beginning to sound like a broken record. No disrespect, but can't we have some variety in our invocations for a change? Or is it still my way or the highway approach this council majority has adopted for all topics? Once again, I would renew a call for Zoom public comments to be allowed. I don't care what other cities are doing or not doing. Why can't Surf City be proactive on this issue? Oh, I forgot. Proactive is a bad word now. And don't get me started on flags and the pseudo-patriotism that masks our current policies. A friend of mine, referring to our council majority, exclaimed, very Succession-like, "These folks are not patriots, they're pirates. They should be saluting the Jolly Roger instead of Old Glory." They play to their buccaneer bass in the balcony and spout phony vox populi rubbish that does not accurately reflect or represent the views of our citizenry. I can't disagree with that assessment, and I hope it doesn't mean that we get keel-hauled by the state as a result. If that happens, you're the ones who should walk the plank. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Next speaker, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Mr. Amory Hanson. I'm speaking tonight to express my appreciation for the mayor's efforts to hold town halls in recent months. The town halls have been a very productive way for residents to express concerns and suggestions. Residents might consider attending these town halls. Huntington Beach, hopefully, will soon move forward into warmer weather. If that happens, consideration might be made to having some of these town halls outdoors. This could potentially expand the amount of town hall locations, as Huntington Beach has 80 parks. Regardless of location, the town halls are a great way to listen to Huntingtonians. I hope any future mayors who might be here tonight, on or off the dais, will consider hosting these town halls as well. I know I intend to do so. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next speaker, thanks for being here.
Good evening, City Council, concerned citizens of Huntington Beach. My name is Jean Ferrens. I'm a member of the Mobile Home Resident Coalition, and I live in Scandia Mobile Home Estates. I plead with you not to oppose AB 1035, a life preserver for mobile home residents experiencing skyrocketing rents from predatory investors. Why would you go out of your way to oppose this bill when you have no role in the state's legislative process? Why would you throw 7,000 of your constituents under the bus for no reason? I can think of a lot of reasons, all of them rooted in money. I researched public records and found a ton of money donated to many of you in 2021 and 2022. Here's a summary. In 2022, MHET, a lobbying organization that gets funds from each mobile home park in OC, donated $1,600 to Michael Gates, $1,200 to Dan Kalmick, $6,819 to Casey McKeon, $6,819 to Pat Burns, $6,819 to Tony Strickland, and $6,819 to Gracie Vandermark. YMA, another lobbyist for mobile home park owners, donated $620 each to Pat Burns, Casey McKeon, Tony Strickland, and Gracie Vandermark in 2022. John Saunders, a predatory park owner who has lodged a myriad of number of lawsuits against municipalities with rent stabilization ordinances, and who is the person behind the lawsuit that has caused AB 1035 to be paused and extended for 2 years, donated $620 to Tony Strickland. Park owners in Huntington Beach donated over $77,000 to MHET in just 3 months of 2022. This is over $300,000 for just Huntington Beach, not counting parks in other communities of Southern California. Vicki Talley is one rich lady. You know her. The member of the Mobile Home Advisory Board who represents the owners, but contrary to the requirements for the board, is neither an owner or a manager, and in fact doesn't even live in Huntington Beach. I wonder, does she even account to park owners for what she does with all this money? It's clear. Any decision by the City Council majority to oppose AB 1035 has nothing to do with representing the interests of the city and their constituents, and everything to do with cash.
Thank you. Next speaker, thanks for being here.
Just push this right. Hi, good evening. I'm just here today to review about what happened on April the 22nd. I'm going backwards. I'm not going backwards. Jumped ahead, that's all right. I was helpful to bring to pass the Community Service Day that happened that day, and I just came to present what happened so we could have a good idea of what went on, and I'm going forward again. Okay, so we started out with a rally, and it was the first time we'd done this. It was a great opportunity to to kind of shine a light and bring kind of a unity together at the beginning to create a spirit of coming together and serving together in the community. Am I supposed to be? There we go. So we had 26 projects. Most of them were in Huntington Beach. They went from all over the area. It worked out. Oh, I'm not doing this. I am doing this. Oh, thank you. So the next slide, we'll just go down. It's all right. We'll just talk about breakfast. It was good. We had a great breakfast. It worked out great. But in the meantime, we were just kicking off the opportunity to come and to get everybody there. We gave everybody a free tote bag and breakfast, and thank you for the proclamation that Councilwoman Mosier presented to us, and Senator Wynn came and gave us a great talk about how we should get back in the community. And then we went forward and did projects. One of the first slides that comes up with a project is one of the code enforcement ones. And this is something that code enforcement helps us to find homes, number 5, or farther down, number 6, thank you, to help people that are individually cannot help themselves. So we help them to do what they can't do on their own.
We also had projects in all the different parks. Greer Park had painting through a whole long wall. We had 35 people signed up for this project, and over 80 came. We had over 1,000 volunteers that day. They helped set up the rally, helped at the 26 projects, and they continued to serve afterwards, even at the community picnic. We had projects at the beach with the beach signs, and we did projects with cleaning the storage facilities that are right there on the bike path. We did a big mural to cover one of those. Projects throughout the city were also at the wetlands and at the Kinetic Academy School that needed a big facelift. Different projects at Therapeutic Writing Center throughout the whole city. We had so many fun things going on. There were people everywhere serving, having a great time. And we ended the day with a picnic at the bandstand again. And we had 3 hours of entertainment, and hundreds of people came out and enjoyed that. And
10 seconds. 10
thank
seconds.
you. And we're thankful that we can able to prepare Community Service Day. And not that you're not going to serve other days, just a catalyst. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next speaker, thanks for being here. Thank you.
Hi, thank you. My name is Mike Trollis. I've been a resident here of Huntington Beach for 16 years now, and thanks for this opportunity to speak to you folks. And what I was hoping is that maybe get an opportunity to take a look at and consider in the replacement or the reinstatement of a crosswalk that was at about 300 yards north of PCH and Newland. It was installed there when they were AES started doing the construction, and all the workers were across the street, so they would be able to cross safely back and forth at that intersection. But soon as, and of course, so did all the children that live across the street from there, and there's, I don't know, 40, 50 kids that live across the street from there on any regular basis. And once they were done, they removed the crosswalk. So then now, if you come down New Lane, you'll see that on the right hand of the road, there's no crosswalk because of the water levee that's there. So you're forced to walk out onto the street. All the kids, you'll see them walking out in the street there. So it's the bike rail, but you're really out on the street. So it was safe for the workers, but then afterwards they got rid of the crosswalk. The infrastructure's still there, the electrical and everything, so all they got to really do is just their reinstallment. It was great because it's not something that went on all the time. You go there, you push the button, it would blink through, safe walking across. The next crosswalk is the intersection of, you've got to walk all the way towards PCH and Newland, horrible intersection. You know, the cars that are coming down PCH already hitting, high speeds, and then they go to make that right turn going up Newland. Multiple deaths there happen across the years, whether people that just a crosswalk or on a bicycle, as they go to cross, they get hit right there. So just saying, you consider it's a safe location, it's a better location because it's a straightaway on either direction, so you can simply see, hey, the crosswalk's on, you slow down, allow the kids to cross. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay. This is the final group. Last call for Robert Weber, Dr. Pat French, Ken Inouye, Bobby King, Allison Plum, Ashley Williamson. Please come down, approach both podiums. Thank you.
Okay, good evening. I'm Dr. Pat French. I'm a retired engineering director at Boeing, and I'm speaking on the part of Robin's Nest that you will hear about later in the CDBG grant presentation. So I just wanted to say a little bit about what we do. I'm on the board of Robin's Nest. We focus on the very front end of the homelessness. We want to work with students and children before they ever get into the system, before they ever are homeless. So we're working with the teachers, administrators, to identify kids that are at risk of being homeless. That's our focus. We then, once we work with the children, some of the things that we consider mandatory are therapy, to understand what's brought them to this situation, help them work through their issues. Life skills training. We found a lot of these kids, for lack of parent support, they don't know a checkbook, they don't know a grocery store, they do not know the basics that you would normally learn at home. We have life skills training, and we have a care coordinator that works individually with each student to help them through whatever they need. We fill the gaps that the kids have found. If it's food they need, if it's clothing, if it's transportation, educational assistance, tutoring, whatever it is, we work at that end. And then on the far extreme of what we support them with is housing. We just purchased our own dedicated Robin's Nest house in Huntington Beach. We have apartments. We have stipends that we give in cases where they are in need of funding so they don't have to work full-time in order to support a family. We enable the students. Our focus is on completing their high school degree and moving on into college, trade school, military programs. So our approach is to break the toxic cycle of homelessness and change the lives of these students. And that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next speaker, thanks for being here.
Good evening. Do you have any compassion? Could you show some concern and give us back Zoom or a facsimile thereof in order for some of us to maintain our dignity? Last week, I stood before this city's Mobile Home Advisory Board and told them that I feel like I have been muzzled by the City Council. You have taken away the ability for me and many more Huntington Beach voters to participate in our rights to speak at these meetings. On Channel 3, or the Surf City 3 video on the city's website, we can observe. Well, big whoop. That's not participation. I have not always been legally blind. I was employed, and the national corporation that I worked for considered me important enough to help in my rehabilitation. Oh, wait, they had to. It's probably part of the Americans with Disabilities Act. Yet this city that I have lived in for over 30 years does not consider my participation important enough. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next speaker, thanks for being here.
Hi there, my name is Ashley Williamson. I was here a lot in February and March. I had a couple prepared comments to make about the pride flag ordinance, the regular flag ordinance. And I don't have any prepared comments today. I did want to personally invite all of the council members and any allies that live in Huntington Beach to Pride at the Pier, which could be the first annual Pride celebration in Huntington Beach. We need representation. And one of the biggest things that I heard, many commentary from online public comments and in-person public comments, is that even though this ordinance does effectively ban the Pride flag being held in June, we could fly it on ourselves. We could fly it at our house, in our person, and wherever we wanted to. So I've taken that as a challenge, and I do that every Sunday from 11 to 1 p.m. I have been miserably harassed by people who told me that trans people shouldn't exist. My child, who is 12, has been talked directly to by these people with absolutely disgusting, explicit sexual language, but every Sunday, our numbers get bigger, and there are more and more of us. So I'd like to personally invite all of you to the big one right before Harvey Milk Day on the 21st, in lieu of what we normally would have had as an annual raising of our pride flag. I'm gonna do it for you guys. So I'd love you to come. Mr. Burns, I'd love you to invite your niece and nephew. I'd love everybody to come if you're an ally. please. Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Next speaker,
I
thanks for
support
being
these seniors.
Thank you.
Good evening, Honorable Huntington Beach City Council, hardworking city staff, and concerned citizens. My name is Allie Plum, and I own an immobile home in Huntington Beach. And now I'm part of the Huntington Beach Mobile Home Resident Coalition with now over 1,200 members and growing. And we've spoken at almost every city council council meeting since October 2020. We've described our financial, mental, and physical health challenges due to skyrocketing rents by predator investors. Mom and pop owners have typically not raised rents to such egregious levels. The City Council hasn't done much to help us with these skyrocketing rents, not even to issue a statement that they commiserated with our plight. We come again to implore you not to vote tonight to oppose AB 1035, the Mobile Home Affordability Act. Why would you oppose this bill when you have no role in the passage or defeat of the bill in the state legislature? The bill has been put on hold until next January when it will start over in the state legislature. So the soonest we could have rent relief, should it pass, would be 1/1/25. Can we hold out that long? We are a sizable number of voters who may live or die by your decisions. Some mobile home parks have just been notified that they will have a second rent increase of hundreds of dollars per month, while you sit back and do nothing to help us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening,
Next speaker.
Honorable Mayor and honorable members of the City Council. My name is Ken Inoue. I'm a 50-year resident of Huntington Beach. When the council majority and city attorney ran for office in the last election, they made a promise to the city of Huntington Beach, to their supporters, that they would take the position that the housing element from the state of California does not apply to the city of Huntington Beach. True to their word, the city, with Michael Gates, filed a lawsuit to that effect in the federal court. But it's also true that in the meantime, until that lawsuit is determined, this city is subject to the laws of the state of California. As a result, in spite of the fact that you know that, or should know that, the inaction taken by the city council at the last meeting, which basically said that you're not, which at best could be interpreted as a intentional disregard of the law, at worst could be interpreted as being breaking the law. In spite of that, the city council took no action, which could cause the city to be subject to fines of $6 million a year. It could cause the city to have to reimburse the state of California hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars of state attorney fees. It could also require the city of Huntington Beach to lose the ability to control its own housing permits. And worst of all, and this is for consideration of City Council, if it's determined that that action broke the law, I believe that that action would be in violation of your fiduciary responsibility to the people of the city and could subject all of you to civil penalties as a result. I would hate to see that. For that reason, I respectfully submit that you all reconsider that option and submit a housing element. This was an action that was not necessary. These potential fines and penalties were not necessary. Let's take it off the table and deal with the lawsuit that we have in the federal courts. I'd like to close my statement by saying something. All of you know that we live in a world-class city, right, people? Huntington Beach is the jewel of the Pacific. I've lived here for 50 years, and I'm so proud to be a resident. And I think the chaplain said it best. We need a functioning city council that works together, that respects each other, so that you can face the problems facing the city in a powerful and united way. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. City Clerk, are we done?
That concludes public comments.
Okay, thank you. All right, members, let's move down on the agenda. Next on the agenda is council committee appointment announcements. Does any councilman have an announcement or councilwoman? No, see none. We're moving on to AB 1234 reporting. Councilwoman, or Mayor Pro Tem Vandermark.
I'd like to report that I did go to Washington, D.C. with ACCOC.
I will also state that I attended the Washington, D.C. ACCOC trip. Councilman McCann.
Yes, I also attended the ACCOC advocacy trip where we advocated our elected congressman and our Senator Padilla to help us with local issues affecting our city. We also met with the Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, Jim Jordan, et cetera. So I thought it was a very productive trip. And I'm actually really optimistic that we can harness the power of our federal representatives to help us with our local issues. Thank you. And I want to thank the taxpayers. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. Openness and negotiation disclosures. Does anybody have anything to disclose?
I spoke with POA.
I spoke with POA.
Okay. Okay. All right. City manager's report. City manager, please introduce your report.
Mayor Strickland, members of the council, the Board of Trustee for the Orange County Mosquito and Vector Control, Mike Posey, submitted a report that the city clerk has distributed to the council and will put in the supplemental communications. Additionally, Trustee Posey wanted me to emphasize to you and to the public that with all of the heavy rains that we've had, there's been lots of standing water, and it's providing a great habitat for mosquitoes. And to keep in mind that the tip of tip and toss, as the vector control agency or district has said that they have found all over the place, even in bottle caps, that mosquito eggs are being harvested. So for the public, Trustee Posey asked that everyone do their part to reduce mosquitoes. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Next, City Clerk, please introduce your report.
Fantastic. I'd like to put up a presentation. We're going to now conduct the nonprofit fireworks stand lottery, our exciting event once a year. I'm going to show a few slides with some information, and then we'll go ahead and pull the numbers for the winners. Okay. All right. So, as you know, we take action each year to assign 15 booths, fireworks stand booths, for high schools, civic organizations, and youth sports organizations, nonprofits. And our high schools conduct their own lotteries because they have so many different groups underneath their each school that it was much easier for them to take over. So Edison High School announced to me that the winners of the groups and sports youth activity in their school was girls soccer boosters and aquatic booster and water polo and swim teams combined. They have an alternate of baseball boosters. For Huntington Beach High School, the winners of their own lottery were Aquatics Booster Club and Boys Lacrosse Boosters, and alternates, I can't see over here, field hockey. For Marina High School, winners, Marina High School Athletics and Boys Basketball, alternates, Wrestling Booster Club and Band Booster Club. Ocean View High School winners were Boys Basketball Boosters, Ocean View High School Band, and their alternates were Boys Baseball. And then for Liberty Christian High School, they're combined their efforts to the parent volunteer organization for Liberty Christian School, our private winner. And now I'm going to move forward to youth sports. In the youth sports category, we received 11 applications, and all were received for tonight's lottery. There were we'll select 5 winners and up to 3 alternates. And I've got 11 little bingo balls inside the little red turnstile thing there. And before we move on that, I'm going to move to my slide and announce that we have our Huntington Beach princesses here. And their names, Coral Gangitano, I'm sorry, Gangitano, and Rosalind Brown-Bellew, and they're going to help with the lottery. You guys want to come up to the front here? And Mayor Strickland, will you join them up front? I'm sorry that I butchered your last name. I did talk to them before the meeting. I said, I'm just going to call you by your first name, but I thought, oh my God, it's in the slides. So they were gracious enough to join us for this tradition, and they're going to be pulling numbers. So before you guys roll the apparatus there, the people that are inside those numbers represented in there are South Huntington Beach Girls Fast Pitch Softball, HB Divers, also known as Coast Divers, Seaview Little League, Culture Football Organization, Surf City Premier Youth Sports and Fitness, Vanguard Aquatics, Huntington Valley Little League, Team 90 Incorporated, DBA California Rush, Golden West Swim Club, Huntington Beach Pop Warner Youth Football, and Beach Elite Football. So if you, volleyball, I'm sorry. So if you'd like, you guys, you want to go ahead and start by selecting 5 winners in the youth sports category. You can do it however you'd like. You can use the microphone up there too. And we have microphones up there. Oh, there's a little button on this side.
And the first winner is Surf City Premier Youth Sports and Fitness. In second, we have Seaview Little League.
All right, congratulations.
In the next one will be South Huntington Beach Girls Fast Pitch Softball. We have 2 more. The next one will be Cultural Football Organization.
All right.
And number 8 will be Team 90.
Okay. All right, so we're going to select 3 alternates.
The first alternate will be Huntington Beach Pop Warner Youth Football. The second alternate will be Huntington Valley Little League. And the final alternate will be Vanguard Aquatics. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so now what we can do is drop, oh, good. Let's take a photo. Love it. Okay, don't go away yet. No, we're not done. We've got another category. Hold on, Mayor, hold on. All right, so in our civic organization category, those participating, Therapeutic Writing Center, Kiwanis Foundation of Huntington Beach, Compass Bible Church, HB, American Legion, Huntington Beach Post 133, HB Lions Foundation, Shore Life Church, Knights of Columbus, HB Elks Lodge 1959, OC Children's Theater, Apostolic Assembly of the Faith HB, Patriots and Paws, McKenna Clare Foundation, Las Damas, Refuge Cavalry Chapel HB, Friends of the HB Junior Guards, Orange Coast Gauken Inc., Monarch Preschool, and Lutheran Church of the Resurrection. So if we can put all the balls inside the, yeah. Okay. And we'll have that's 18 balls inside the red spinning, whatever they call that thing. What's it called? Basket? Red basket? All right. And you can go ahead and spin away and start selecting 5 winners.
Okay, our first one is the Patriots and Paws. Ooh. Our second, the Lutheran Church. Friends of the HB Junior Guards.
We have HB Lions Foundation.
Yes.
And the last one, number 16, Orange Coast. I don't want to butcher it.
Gaukin?
Gaukin Inc.
Okay, and we're going to pick 3 alternates.
Awesome. Number 9, OC Children's Theater. Second alternate is Apollo's Assembly of Faith, HB. And the last alternate is the American Lead, Huntington Beach, Post 133.
Okay, thank you very much. That does conclude our lottery. Thanks so much, girls, for sharing your time with us tonight. And as just a reminder, like I announced at the beginning of the meeting, fire department representatives will be reaching out to all winners about the permitting process moving forward. All right? Thank you.
All right, members, now moving down the agenda, we're on the consent calendar, items 16 through 29. Would anyone like to pull an item?
17 and 18.
Okay.
22 and 29.
17 and 18. And 22 and 29.
Who pulled 22 and 29?
Burns.
Okay.
Councilman Burns.
Quick point of order on the 22 and 29 and 28. The numbers are backwards on my agenda. It goes 27, 29, 28. Just for clarity, I just want to make sure we're pulling. I know we're pulling which one we're pulling.
Mine go 27, 28, 29.
Oh, that's what. What is it actually? Read what it is.
23, 149, approved sale, sole source procurement request. Oh, wait, and 29 is 23, 372, approve and authorize the execution of amendment number 1 to the agreement between City of Huntington Beach and GHD.
Okay. Yeah, my
Okay.
iPad's backwards, so okay.
So, Councilman, which ones did you pull again? I just want to make, item number 29, it was 22.
22.
Okay, I just want to, 22. Okay.
I think ours match.
Okay. So with that, members, do I hear a motion and a second to move the rest of the consent calendar?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Clerk, call the roll.
All right. Councilmember Kalmick.
Aye.
Mosier.
Aye.
Vandermark.
Yes.
Strickland.
Aye.
McKeon.
Yes.
Bolton.
Aye.
Burns.
Aye.
Okay, now we're on members, we're on item number 17. Mr. Kalmick, you may open.
Thank you. Start with the easy stuff first. On the back page, page 6, it's missing a bunch of appointments that I'm assuming that staff can clarify and pick up that are just regional boards that aren't appointed by this, just for informational purposes. Let's see, I sit on the OCTA, Citizens Advisory Committee, 12 is vacant. I also am on SCAG's Energy and Environment Policy Committee, which shows empty. And I think there's a couple of other members that serve on some other, and I also serve on the Orange County Emergency Medical Services Board, which is appointed by City Selection. So just wanted to clear up on that. Also on number 7 on the community regional agencies, it shows me as appointed to Vector Control when Posey's our representative for the next year. Just again, so if somebody goes and pulls this off the website, that they have accurate data. With regard to the actual reason for this being brought forward, it's my understanding that the Joint Powers Agreement has no mention of alternates in their JPA agreement, so I would request that the JPA agreement gets amended prior to us appointing an alternate, which doesn't seem to be allowed. And yeah, I mean, we have 2 members, so I don't know why we need an alternate for this position. Thanks.
Okay.
I have an additional,
Please.
just
Councilwoman,
corrections.
go ahead.
Thank you. Just like Councilmember Kalmick, there were some items that weren't included on page 6 of 7. On number 4, I'm the League of California Cities Orange County Division Executive Board member, and I'm also the League of California Cities Environmental Quality Board member. Also, one thing that's not there is the Orange County Housing Finance Trust Board of Directors, which I also sit on that board. Thank you.
All right. Staff, do you need clarification?
No, I'll go ahead and review the tape. I just want to say that the list wasn't, I don't create the list, and the list what was adopted back in December. So these will all be new additions.
Okay.
The original list doesn't include those, I don't think. So, so we'll make sure it gets updated.
Great. Okay. Now, do I have a motion and second to move as amended?
Just to clarify, so then I'm not going to be the alternate? Is that what you guys are saying?
That would be my motion until the water board ends their JPA agreement, and then we can come back and have that conversation.
Is that going to be an issue?
Travis or Shannon, do you want to weigh in on this?
The one thing I'd point out, Councilmember Kalmix is correct. The JPA agreement doesn't talk about alternates, but it's been a practice of the board since at least 2017 that other cities within the JPA had alternates. So with that, I suspect requesting the JPA to update it if they want to have alternates is not a problem. But then I would leave it up to the council what you want to do at this point.
I mean, we have 2 board members. I don't know why are we having trouble getting quorum on that. I mean, it's a board that meets quarterly. I know it had issues with IRC conflict, but I think this goes back to the larger conversation of the fact that there are 3 board members on this council that serve on very few, if not none, of the boards within the city. So there are people here that are capable of making that meeting.
Travis, wasn't there like some scheduling conflict potentially, right?
I don't know in the past, but yeah, I mean, we have 2 board members, and so if one couldn't make it, there's 5 members on that board. If one couldn't make it, other committees we do have alternates. So I mean, it's up to definitely. This is a decision up to the council.
I don't think it's really a big deal, so I do a substitute motion to allow me to be the alternate to the West Orange County Water Board. Everything else that was. Yeah, the West OC. Yeah, but this is as an alternate.
I'll second Councilman McKeon's motion. Substitute motion. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Kalmik.
Aye.
Mosier.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Vandermark.
Yes.
Mayor Strickland.
Aye.
McKeon.
Yes.
Bolton.
Aye.
Burns.
Aye.
All right, passes 7-0.
So, okay. Let's move forward to item 18. Mr. Kalmik, you may open.
Thank you. I have a lot of disagreement with what the recommended actions of the IRC were, so I just wanted to, instead of trying to call a vote for AB through A through J, I was, I guess, take them one at a time. I don't want to waste too much time on this, but let's see. One of these bills has been withdrawn, so I think C, we should probably pull that and wait till next year to see what's
I'll
in
second
there.
that motion.
Okay. I don't know. I got a couple we can probably take care of in one, and we'll run through that.
Let's do C first.
Okay, let's do C first.
Let's do C
so I'll
first.
move
And
that. We'll just
you went
pull-
out of order, but okay.
Sure, we'll just see. We'll just pull it out. We'll
Okay,
pull
we'll
that
pull it
off
out. I
for-
second it. Clerk, call the roll.
Kalmik.
Aye.
Mosier.
Aye.
Vandermark.
Yes.
Strickland.
Aye.
McKeon.
Yes.
Bolton.
Aye.
Burns.
Aye.
All right.
Okay, so we pulled item C. So you want to start at A, Councilman?
Sure. I think that A has some interesting impacts. Tom Umberg Senator Umberg is one of our semi-caretaker representatives, and to kind of come out as opposed. So I would potentially move this to oppose unless amended.
And can I ask, if you don't mind, if I can ask staff to, for public purposes, to explain what AB 480 does, and then we can move from that point.
Absolutely. Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. So AB 480 is an amendment to the Surplus Lands Act, which was greatly amended in 2019, and HCD codified some guidelines shortly thereafter, which greatly stretched the interpretation of the 2019 legislation giving HCD a lot more power over Surplus Lands Act and taking that power away from cities as it relates to land that the city owns. In 2022, there were 2 bills proposed to, again, amend the Surplus Lands Act. They both failed. CalEd, which is an economic development association of the state, opposed both of those efforts. They also oppose AB 480, and again, it attempts to codify many of the HCD's stretch interpretations, giving HCD more power and control as it relates to surplus lands of the city.
And I did serve with Mr. Umberg. He's a great guy, and he's good to work with, but I think he'll understand that we're fighting for local control. And from my perspective, I think HCD has too much power as it is, and I don't want to give them more. So therefore, I move that we adopt number A and oppose AB 480. Second. It's been moved and seconded. Clerk, please call the roll.
Was that Councilmember Burns?
To move, yeah,
Yes,
Burns,
okay.
seconded. Correct.
Okay. Councilmember Kalmick.
Abstain.
Mosher?
Abstain.
Vandermark?
Yes.
Strickland?
Yes.
McKeon?
Yes.
Bolton? And Burns.
Yes.
All right. The item passes.
Okay, if we want to go to each
03.
one, item. Thank you, Mr. Clerk, Madam Clerk. Item B, support for SB 747. Would you like to just give a brief synopsis? Go ahead.
The letter D is in Delta.
No, B is in boy.
Oh, okay.
B is in boy.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. SB 747 is again related to the Surplus Lands Act. It provides some reform that benefits cities. The major point reaffirms that the cities are able to take advantage of the economic opportunity law, because there's some conflict right now between the Surplus Lands Act and the economic opportunity law. So it does bring some clarification there.
And therefore, I would like the city to support SB 747, and I move that we do so.
Second.
Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Kalmick?
Aye.
Mosher?
Aye.
Vandermark?
Yes.
Strickland?
Aye.
McKeon?
Yes.
Bolton? Burns?
Aye.
7-0.
Mayor, while we're at it, on the next one, I know we all voted to remove it, but can we explain what 1035 was? Because there were residents here that spoke about it. Just to further.
Yes.
Yeah.
Would you like to, staff, would you like to identify what AB 1035 was? Even though we've already pulled it.
Sure. So AB 1035 was, I'm sorry, I don't have a slide. Maybe I do. Oh, I do. It is to have rent caps in mobile home parks, and this is actually going to be withheld because there is existing litigation. It's going to be a 2-year bill. So for us to pull it and watch this potentially change over time, I think that's what we're up to discuss today.
Perfect.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So members, we'll move to item D as in duck. Staff, would you like to present on SB 4?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. SB 4 is a bill that would allow by right development on properties owned by religious institutions and independent higher education facilities. I think the largest concern from staff's perspective on this bill, it does a number of things, but it's that there are some properties in the city that might be really well suited for certain types of development on it that are not surrounded by single-family residential neighborhoods where the type of development that would likely occur makes some sense, but there are other sites that would qualify that might not be such a good fit for that type of development. And so from a planning perspective, taking the city's ability away to decide what are the good sites and versus the sites that might not be so good is a concern. I'm happy to answer any other questions.
Well, and I move that we oppose SB 4 because I believe that the planning should be done by the city, not by the state. So on those reasons, I believe that we should move to oppose SB 4.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Clerk, please call the roll.
I do have a question for staff.
Oh,
if you
go
would.
ahead. Go ahead.
With regard, there's been, this is called the YIGBY law, yes, in God's backyard. So there's been some projects, I think, in Santa Ana and Anaheim where churches of religious institutions have been able to add housing to their stock or housing to their properties. And they've had trouble doing it through the cities because of usually where churches are sited. Sometimes they're not, the zoning gets weird. Is there a way that we can move the concept forward, I guess? I guess lobby, I mean, we don't have a lobbyist at this point, but at least push for, more local control in something that would allow, because it would be a wholesale change to our zoning code in order to make this change. And so if the state does it, are there objective standards? Are there, what are the I guess, belts and suspenders that protect the city in something like this? I know that it is Senator Wiener that is bringing this one forward.
Well, I would argue that there are other examples of church sites that have been able to do this. In fact, I toured one, I believe it was in Garden Grove. So I think ultimately the city council always has the ability to rezone property. So if there's a church site that wants to propose housing on it and they come through the normal process, the city council currently has the discretion to be able to decide if you want to do the rezoning to allow that development, and you can do it on a site-by-site basis as it makes sense to the council.
Sure. Okay.
And to quote my colleague, sometimes the zoning gets weird. So on that point, I want to oppose SB 4.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
I believe that Mr. McKeon already made that second, correct?
The mayor pro tem can have it.
Okay, I'll switch it. All right, Councilmember Kalmick.
Abstain.
Mosher,
Abstain.
Vandermark,
Yes.
Strickland,
Yeah, aye.
McKeon,
Yes.
Bolton,
Abstain.
Burns.
Aye.
The item passes 403.
Okay. Staff oppose AB 1485. Description of the bill.
Yes, thank you. AB 1485 would allow HCD and the Attorney General to intervene in housing lawsuits as a matter of right. So they do not need to wait for a court to allow intervention. It puts weight of the Office of the Attorney General behind lawsuits, court influence, and introduce new arguments. Currently, HCD is meant to provide technical assistance for cities. They're meant to be an agency that assists cities in these areas, and so it is problematic to give HCD, working with the Attorney General's office, sort of this control when they are there to provide technical assistance to cities.
I'm surprised they didn't name it after us as a city. But anyways, on that note, I move that we oppose AB 1485. It's been moved and seconded. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Kalmick.
Abstain.
Mosher,
Abstain.
Vandermark,
Yes.
Mayor Strickland,
Aye.
McKeon,
Yes.
Bolton,
Abstain.
and Burns.
Aye.
The item passes 403.
Okay, staff, we're on AB 68. Recommendation opposed. Would you like to describe the bill?
Yes, AB 68 allows streamlined by right residential development in what's called a climate smart parcel. It is sort of, the bill makes it sound like it's a kind of a climate type of a bill, but it's really allowing by right development on parcels that just have to meet one indicator of either a half mile next to a major transit stop or high quality transit corridor, a low vehicle travel area within 1 mile cluster of either a restaurant, bar, coffee shop, grocery store. So when the tax credit allocation board looks at housing projects, they look at high resource areas, and essentially this bill says if you're in a high resource area, you get by right development. But practically the entire city of Huntington Beach qualifies as a high resource area, so it would allow by right development practically everywhere in the city.
So for those reasons, I move that we oppose AB 68.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Kalmick.
Abstain.
Mosher,
Abstain.
Vandermark,
Yes.
Strickland,
Aye.
McKeon,
Yes.
Bolton,
Abstain.
Burns.
Aye.
The item passes 403.
Thank you. Staff, now we're going on to SB 423 with the recommendation of oppose. Would you like to describe this bill?
Yes, SB 423, it permanently extends SB 35, which has previously been opposed by the city council for the city. This puts the sunset date off the table, so it remains in perpetuity. It allows cities that don't have a certified housing element for the developers to propose projects where they don't have to comply with the underlying zoning.
And for those reasons, I move that we oppose SB 423.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Kalmick.
Aye.
Mosier.
Aye.
Vandermark.
Yes.
Strickland.
Aye.
McKeon.
Aye.
Bolton.
Aye.
Burns.
Aye.
Item passed 7-0.
I'm gonna say that we should pass on item H. I've talked to the senator, and so she requested it's not ready yet for us.
It's a placeholder bill at this point.
Yeah, so it's not ready yet from the senator's discussion. SB 1175, staff.
Sure. So both SB 222 and SB 1175 are for outdoor advertising displays. And
Oh, this is the one that the senator asked us to hold off on.
yeah, this is going to be for a watch.
Okay.
These two bills are really pretty similar, and it has to do with advertising basically off of freeways. So we in the city have one, Westminster has one, there are a lot in Fullerton and other areas on busy freeway corridors. So this is a watch. We're going to see what happens with this one.
Okay,
So.
thank you. Councilman.
I have Assemblywoman Quirk Silva's in the assembly. How is it SB 1175?
This might be a typo. I
maybe two,
apologize.
okay. AB 1175 actually is pretty deep. Did the senator ask you to hold off on this one too?
I only talked about
Hers?
the 222.
Okay.
But I know they're kind of connected in some ways.
Okay.
And so that's why I had a conversation with the senator, at least in terms of her item, we're going to hold off.
Okay.
If you want to move forward on that one, but I would advise if they're
Oh, no,
kind of connected,
222,
I would.
yeah. I just wanted to, because we actually receive revenue from our sign
Right.
up there.
I
And this
agree.
has been a big issue, and I've
I
talked
agree.
to those folks that we'd want to come out and and support. But
It's a huge issue.
Yeah, if they're still not totally baked in
Right.
yet, let's hold on. And I'm
It's
good
a
with
huge
one.
issue for the city. Yeah,
Okay, perfect.
absolutely. Thank
Okay.
you. And then final one,
Well,
members.
actually, I'd like to take the position to watch
A
it.
watch,
So at least
correct.
we're on
Correct.
record. So
Correct.
I'll go ahead and move watch SB 1175 or AB 1175.
Okay. I second it.
All right. Councilmember Kalmick.
Aye.
Mosier.
Aye.
Vandermark.
Yes.
Strickland.
Aye.
McKeon.
Yes.
Bolton.
Aye.
Burns.
Aye.
7-0.
Thank you. And then the last one, SB 252, Gonzalez, is that the one that you wanted me to?
Yeah, if you want to
Right.
go ahead and speak to it, that's
Yeah, this is the one that just when it talks about pension funds and investments, that they want to divest, correct me if I'm wrong, staff, that they want to divest from oil companies in terms of investments. And my 2 cents are, their job is not to do policy. Their job is just to maximize the return on the investment for our pensions, for our people who work hard for those pensions. So on that note, I move that we oppose SB 252. It's been moved and seconded.
I respectfully disagree with
yeah,
that. Right?
understand.
Yes, they are there to make a return on investment, but there is a value statement involved in what the state of California's pension retirement system is involved in. They are an enormous pension system and therefore can move markets by their investment and divestment. And I think investing in a dying technology doesn't make economic sense anymore when you're starting to see that the renewable energy, including the fossil fuel industry, is moving out of that industry. So this is in 2031, they'd have to liquidate their assets from that. And you can get market returns without investing in fossil fuels. And I mean, they don't invest. I mean, there's a discussion of, should they invest in arms and things of that nature? And they've made a value statement already. So this is, I think, the next step. So I'll be opposing this one.
Okay. And I would respectfully disagree that it's a dying technology, but we'll just leave it at that. I have a real problem because we start going down a slippery slope. All of a sudden, they're policymakers and they're not returning the investment of what they're there to do. One thing I was very excited was when we were up in Sacramento with the ACCOC, the main, I forgot the title of the person, but it was our main investment person, says she doesn't do that. She works forward to maximize those investments.
CEO of
It wasn't
CalPERS,
the controller, but
CEO of CalPERS?
yeah, it was the CEO of CalPERS. Thank you. So anyways, it's been moved and seconded. Clerk, call the roll.
Yep. Councilmember Kalmick.
No.
Mosier.
No.
Vandermark.
Yes.
Strickland.
Aye.
McKeon.
Yes.
Bolton.
No.
Burns.
Aye.
Item passes 4-3.
Thank you. Okay, so now, members, we're going to item number 22. It was pulled by Councilman Burns. Councilman Burns, you may open.
All right, I have some questions for probably the chief and Sonny. The contract, on that, how many other financial contracts are kind of parallel in this for equipment and stuff like that?
So currently we have 3 active loans with Chase with interest rates that range from 1.249, and that was back in 2001 when rates were especially low, to 2.019%, and that was back in 2002 when rates were still pretty low. So our total outstanding principal to date is $11.7 million, and it includes large equipment purchases such as our 3 police helicopters, our rescue boat, engines, and other ambulances.
All right. Scott says in the contract, it says that they have a restrictive supply chain, and and they go through All-Start to provide the equipment, actually. And why don't we just go skip Scott and go to All-Start, instead of kind of buying retail, go buy, I'm just out of curiosity.
Yeah,
Did
so
we
Scott is the manufacturer and All-Star is the
okay.
approved seller. And so they only allow one particular seller on the West Coast. And everybody has to buy out of that.
Okay, and it says that they kind of have a restrictive supply chain, but it says time, I believe it says you guys anticipate about 2 years before we get it.
Yeah,
Is there
so
a back end to that? If they don't get it by 4, it doesn't say that if we don't get it by 4 or 3, it doesn't say that we can say, hey, you can't provide, we're going someplace else. Is there a way to get that in there, or is there a reason?
Yeah, so what's happened with fire trucks in particular is that the orders with the interest rates that were so low for so long, everybody was putting in lots of orders. So there are only a few companies that make them, so they're all quite backlogged. And so we can put in a liquidated damages clause on the time. If there's a time they don't execute to this certain date, then they start paying us back if it goes past that. And so that's part of the negotiation we can put in. We normally have something associated with that with each one of the builds. And so we're refining out the build time. Right now, this manufacturer we're going through is about almost half build time as the traditional manufacturer we used to use. So we should expect about 2 years for an engine and then probably about 3 for the truck company to build. And
this is kind of outside the contract itself, but are we going to resell the equipment that gets phased out?
Yes, we do. We do resell it. This particular truck will be replacing, selling out, and we'll be able to sell those. Typically, we'll sell those to either Midwest and volunteer departments, but the truck we have itself is actually, we probably receive anywhere between 100 to 200, depending on the market at the time, because of its particular style. And so we do sell off those engines.
Okay. And it's a lease purchase, right? We end up owning them at the end of the lease. That's why we probably can't prepay.
That is correct. So Chase does use the term lease purchase. It is an odd term that's unique to Chase. It really is more of a financing tool. So they do have a lien on the title. One other thing I did just want to point out in regards to the interest rates is I did receive an updated interest rate from Chase this morning, and so that rate's currently 3.411.
Oh, a little
And
lower.
It is a little lower. So if approved, we would be able to lock that rate tonight, and then that would result in annual savings of approximately $20,000 per year, or $141,000 off over the life of the loan.
Nice. Okay, they get to depreciate that, don't they? We don't depreciate equipment, do we? But they get to depreciate is that part of the negotiation too? That their advantage of being able to depreciate it over the term of the lease?
With Chase depreciating the loan?
Or the Scott, I'm not sure, whomever. I'd probably Chase, they'd be the owners, right?
Chase would be on title. They would not necessarily depreciate it they wouldn't necessarily depreciate it. We depreciate on our books as.
But we do depreciate.
We depreciate large equipment on our books. Our threshold is for equipment $50,000 and over. However, that is really more of an accounting reporting requirement.
Okay. Okay, then on 5.2, Chief, you might hit this one. And it says in 5.2, it says, and is operational. That's when we start paying. Well, taking that tour of Public Works, it kind of, once we get it, it takes like a month before it's fully operational to the fire department about, right? Once it gets equipped as to our standards?
Yes, we have to, once we take them, then there's the outfitting, radios, equipment, all of that goes on. Our shop runs through the component. There's also a point when the rigs are always driven out from the manufacturer, and so the mileage starts when they get to our location. And in that drive and the pre-trip, there's always things that, warranty items and areas that they need to fix. And so we've negotiated with this particular fire truck manufacturer where our shop can do the warranty work, and the parts aren't proprietary, so they're able to do that work in-house, so that'll speed up that process significantly. But it is about a month to 45 days to get them outfitted once they start.
Is that when the paying form starts, after that month? Because it says end is operational, and it starts operational at that time. I'm just wondering if that's kind of agreed upon.
Because we're doing a prepayment option with these in order to receive a reduction in cost. So we're doing the prepayment area, so we'll be paying those through Chase starting with the build.
Correct. So we were offered a discount by Rosenbauer in order to, if we did prepay these apparatus. One thing to also note, just in order to secure that prepayment, we would also receive a performance bond from Rosenbauer. So in the event, there was some unforeseen delay or there was a default, we would get all of our monies back in full. Additionally, with the prepayment, Chase has a unique provision in their loan that we were able to negotiate where, although we do prepay the amount in full at the beginning, we are also able to receive the full amount of the reimbursement from Chase immediately. So, we're not out of pocket in fronting any of the money.
All right. And then number 7, it exempts the lesser of any product warranty. Is that going to be if something fails dramatically on that, are we going to be able to kick it back to Scott's to absorb our costs? Because, these things are going to be roughly like $50,000 a month or something, I forget, payment.
Yeah, so the warranty, in particular on the Scott, on the SCBAs, those are a lifetime warranty with this purchase. So those will be fixed throughout the life of the ownership of it, where the ones we currently have termed out. And same with the rigs as well. We're the authorized warranty representative, which is unique for this particular rig, Rosenbauer, which is why we went with them. And so that allows us to really to fix and bill back to the company any changes that are within the warranty.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering if they're responsible if something dramatic, oh, go ahead.
No.
If something grossly goes wrong where you guys can't get the parts and stuff and that company is responsible for getting the part, that's kind of a lot of money on our shoulders to bear without the tool. Is there any kind of provision to allow us to delay or hold payment or whatever so they absorb some pain of a dramatic failure in the product?
We can negotiate it.
Yeah, I think talking with Sunny, we can negotiate. We can talk about that with them and negotiate something that stipulates that within the agreement.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, you guys are approved, so that's already answers that question. And then one more, number 11, removed from permanent base. Oh, yeah, the permanent base. It says you can't remove it without written authorization from your permanent base. What's that permanent base going to be? Because if it runs out to Northern California on a mutual aid deal without a prior written notice, that it's going to kind of throw some liability our way. So is the present base going to expand to mutual aid type situations?
So that is something that we have discussed with Chase before. So they do recognize that with public safety apparatus such as fire trucks, they would be removed from their permanent base in order to respond to things like mutual aid events. And so this clause is understood not to, we wouldn't be in violation if we did end up rolling out this rig to another location.
The mutual aid would extend the permanent base range?
Correct. So this clause really refers more to the permanent home base. So for example, whenever we do finally receive the equipment, then one of the provisions in the reimbursement agreement does identify the permanent location of that particular apparatus. So in our case, it would be one of the fire stations. So if it was permanently removed away from the fire stations or away from the vicinity of one of the Huntington Beach fire stations, then we would need to receive written permission from Chase, but that wouldn't happen because that's still would be its permanent base. This really refers more to events like if we decided to sell the apparatus.
All right, yeah, I'd hate to see it get caught in a fire like it's happened, and we were sitting there with a melted machine there. So, and that is it. That's all I had. Thank you.
Do you
With
want
that,
to
I'd
move the
like to
item?
move to accept it with those explanations.
Okay.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Kalmick?
Aye.
Mosher?
Aye.
Vandermark?
Yes.
Strickland?
Aye.
McKeon?
Yes.
Bolton?
Aye.
Burns?
Aye.
Approved 7-0.
Thank you. Members, we're now on file item number 29. Councilman Burns, you pulled the item. You're open.
All right, who's answering this? Hi, Chow.
Hello.
Real easy. Are we able to use the services for, instead of paying some consultant for this, are we able to, since we are part of OC Sand, kind of we use their services, or Orange County Water District, are we able to use some of their consultants in some of these kind of on-call water engineering, wastewater engineering, stormwater engineering, and all this other stuff for this consulting? Can we, instead of paying a special consultant for these, use OC San or OC Water District?
I just want to mention that GHD also uses the same consultants. So the process for these on-call services, yes, the answer is yes, we could, but we'd rather have our own procurement process, do our own scope of work, and procure our own bench for specialty services related to water, wastewater, storm drain capital projects. We prefer to use our own bench.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, I didn't see anywhere, what are we looking at for these consultants?
This consultant firm specializes in water, wastewater, and storm drain engineering studies. They also do design, structural, and surveying services for our capital projects. That's our lift stations, our wells, our reservoirs,
I'm
our
cool
pump
with that.
stations.
I'm just wondering what the price tag is.
Oh, the price tag for, well, we use them for a slew of services, and each time we have.
Oh, different charges?
Yes,
Oh.
different. It's not just a one-time charge of
Okay.
$1 million. It's over time. So in the last 2 years, we've spent $600,000 on this firm.
All right, that's all. Thank you. I move to accept.
Okay, it's been moved.
Second.
Second. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Kalmick?
Aye.
Mosher?
Aye.
Vandermark?
Yes.
Strickland?
Aye.
McKeon?
Yes.
Bolton?
Aye.
Burns?
Aye.
7-0. Thank you.
Thank you, members. We're on file item number 30, 2023-24 Annual Action Plan for Federal Community Development Block Grant, Home Investment Partnerships, Entitlement Grant Programs. Does anyone have any ex parte communication to disclose on item number 30? None. State staff, please introduce your report.
Charles Kovac, our housing manager, will give the report. He's just pulling up the presentation.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Good evening, Mayor Strickland and members of the City Council. My name is Charles Kovac. I'm the housing manager. With me tonight is Steve Holtz, our Community Development Deputy Director. This evening, I will be presenting on the proposed 23-24 Annual Action Plan, which contains funding recommendations for the Community Development Block Grant and Home Investment Partnership programs. In addition, I'll be presenting a recommended amendment to the Citizen Participation Plan for these programs. The Community Development Block Grant Program, commonly referred to as CDBG, and the Home Investment Partnerships Program, referred to as HOME, come to the City of Huntington Beach as entitlement grants from the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development, commonly referred to as HUD. The city is allocated $1.2 million in CDBG funds and approximately $665,000 in home funds every year. To remain eligible for these funds, the city is required to submit an action plan to HUD each year outlining how these funds will be used during the upcoming fiscal year, which begins July 1st and ends June 30th, 2024. As part of this annual process, the Citizen Participation Advisory Board evaluates CDBG public services funding applications and makes funding recommendations to the City Council. The City Council and the Citizen Participation Advisory Board held a joint study session on March 15 to review these funding recommendations. Following the March 15th study session, the CDBG and home funding recommendations were incorporated into the 2023-24 action plan and made available for public review and comment. The action plan must be considered by the City Council at a public hearing, which was originally scheduled for April 18th and was subsequently rescheduled for this evening. To date, no comments have been received from the public on either the draft action plan or the amendment to the Citizen Participation Plan. The City Council is requested to consider the approval of the action plan at tonight's public hearing and authorize its submittal to HUD by May 15th, which is the deadline required by HUD. The total funding available through CDBG and HOME next fiscal year is $2.5 million. It should be noted that this $2.5 million includes the 23-24 allocations from HUD, along with carryover funds and program income from the current program year of 22-23. Carryover funds are unused funds that were previously awarded to other activities. This typically happens when an activity is completed with cost savings, leaving a portion of the funding to be allocated to another activity. Program income would be repayments on loans previously made using CDBG or home funds. They're typically affordable housing or housing rehabilitation loans previously approved by the City Council. This slide shows the Citizen Participation Advisory Board's funding recommendations for CDBG public service activities. The Citizen Participation Advisory Board recommends allocating the full amount available under this funding category to the 4 programs shown here. As the slide shows, one application was not recommended for funding. This was a food pantry program by South County Outreach. However, 2 applications were recommended to be fully funded, and 2 applications were recommended to be partially funded. This slide shows the CDBG capital projects allocations, and they're primarily continuing the current programs of tenant-based rental assistance administration, special code enforcement, ADA improvement projects, and the housing rehabilitation program. This year's ADA improvement projects consist of Central Library restroom improvements and curb and ramp ADA improvements in Maintenance Zone 4 as shown here. It should be noted here that Public Works recently renumbered the maintenance zones in the city, so Maintenance Zone number 4 as shown here is actually now Maintenance Zone number 1. CDBG administration is shown here, and this funding activity includes the HUD mandated activity of the Fair Housing Services, which the Citizen Participation Advisory Board recommends to be provided by the Fair Housing Foundation. Home program funding recommendations are also shown here and are based upon continuing the current tenant-based rental assistance program, as we commonly refer to as TBRA, with the service providers Families Forward and our current mobile home TBRA program. HUD regulations require the city to reserve 15% of the HUD allocation, which again is like $665,000, for an eligible community housing development organization CHODO project using the amount shown here. The balance of this home funding is for project administration, which is the maximum 10%.
Hey, Charles.
Yes.
Just on that slide, it can go back one slide, actually.
Sure.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of comments from the residents that the city's not doing anything to help the mobile home park community, when in fact we are. So can you give us a little bit more information on the mobile home TBRA program in terms of how many families you think that can help? What are the qualifications, existing maintenance, et cetera?
Yeah, sure. The TBRA program was developed last November. It consisted of doing a lottery for eligible seniors over 62 in age that have lived in their unit for 1 year at least. It's for very low income and below, so extremely low, very low income seniors. And there's preferences, preference points being if you're a veteran, if you're paying over 50% of your income towards rent, and then the third preference is if you're extremely low income, which is 30% of your income and below. So those were the main factors that went into deciding if you're eligible. So we had a period in, I think it was January to February, where we accepted interest applications from potential participants, and we received over 130 applicants and it's like a one-page application with the basic information, and we received over 130 from seniors interested in this program. So after doing a lottery to determine and putting everybody in their preference pool, whether they matched all three of them, they would get higher preference than just being somebody under 50%. We came out with our list. We started contacting the individuals in March. And this whole process, it takes a little time because we're dealing with HUD money. Therefore, we have to do HQS, Housing Quality Standard inspections of each unit, make sure they pass that, and then they would be eligible to receive the funding. So right now, the official starting date, I guess you could say, of the TBRA program in terms of distributing funds to these mobile home owners would be starting with the May rent. So there'll probably be around 11 for now, but we have like 20 or 30 more in the pipeline. And because of the funding, the $546,000, which is an increase over last year, we think we could do more than we anticipated initially, which was 30. Now we think we can possibly do 50, up to 50, and maybe some beyond, depending upon.
Sir, real quick.
Yeah.
Is that going to be a problem? Looking at those, I just added up that first column.
Yeah.
I think it only comes out to 885,219.
That could be correct, I think. Oh, yeah, you know what, because there was one organization, the Mercy House was a service provider. They were initially going to be allocated $200,000, but they decided to refocus their activities to more of dealing with the navigation centers and other homeless shelters throughout the county that they're working with. So yes, that should, it doesn't reflect the mobile home TBRA that where it says in the first column 391,000. That should be 591,654. So I think that would give you the 1,000 or 1
right.
million.
That's just got to be correct.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No problem. Just to kind of put a bow on it, to the mobile home park community, that the city is providing resources, and it's increased from last year to going forward for this year. And so more people will be allowed to apply, of course, and then also qualify.
Yes, absolutely. And again, we're providing more than we anticipated, so we're really happy about that. So continuing on, in addition to the 23-24 action plan, staff is recommending a cleanup of the citizen participation plan. This plan is required by HUD to outline the city's process for providing residents an opportunity to participate in the planning, implementation, and assessment of the CDBG and home programs. The proposed amendments include the following, like reducing the number of annual city council public hearings from 2 to 1 to align with HUD regulations, updating the city council meeting dates, describing the role the Citizen Participation Advisory Board plays in making funding recommendations, and updating the city contact information. And so staff recommends that the City Council conduct this evening's public hearing on the 23-24 action plan and consider adoption of resolution number 2023-19, approving the 23-24 action plan and the substantial amendment to the citizen participation plan. And with that, that concludes the presentation, and we are available for any questions you might have.
City Clerk, do we have anybody signed up to speak on this item?
Mayor, we're going to open up the public hearing first, and then I'll answer that question.
All right.
Want to open it up?
Let's open up the public hearing.
All right. And the answer is no. We don't have anyone. I will announce that we did receive for this item 2 email communications as supplemental communication that were added to the record tonight.
Thank you. Members, any questions?
And then, Mayor, we can close the public hearing now. I'm sorry, it's just technicality.
Close
Sorry.
the hearing.
The attorney's going to
Okay.
ask me to do it.
All right. Members, any questions? None?
Move.
What's the action? Because there's different recommendations.
Oh. No public hearing.
Did you have a question?
I had a
Council?
comment, and I also would like to move all as recommended.
Okay.
I just wanted to thank, as far as the mobile home tenant-based rental assistance program, I appreciate the update and all of the work on that. I'm glad that we're going to be able to hopefully help more people. Thank you for providing that update. Also, I know that our HBCOA is looking at potentially helping out additional residents who are on the list, who maybe are not eligible via this program. There were 90 additional, is that right, on the waiting list?
Yeah, again, we have to be cautious in how far we get ahead of ourselves. So we're only up to reaching out to the top 35 so far to make sure we have enough money to cover everybody that's going to be part of the program. So once we use up the money, anyone that's left over, they checked the box when they did their application if they wanted to be contacted by that organization. And then once we get through that portion, we will submit names to the organization. We've been in constant contact with them too, so.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I'll second.
Okay, ready? All right, Councilmember Kalmick.
Aye.
Mosher?
Aye.
Vandermark?
Yes.
Strickland?
Aye.
McKeon?
Yes.
Bolton?
Aye.
Burns?
Aye.
Item passes 7-0. Thank you.
All right, members, now we're on to file item number 31. Does anyone have any ex parte communication disclosed on item number 31? Seeing none. Staff, please introduce your report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. Tonight I'll be presenting a brief presentation on proposed changes to the master fee and charges schedule, as well as to the ordinance relating to, the municipal code relating to parking meters. So currently, the city maintains a master fee and charges schedule that identifies applicable charges and fees for various city services. These fees are updated and reviewed on a periodic basis, and our city last completed a comprehensive fee study in 2016, which was based on fiscal year 14-15 data. So since then, we've added certain fees, and we've also made some minor modifications, just based on department feedback. However, we have not done a comprehensive fee study since that time. So just as a brief overview, communities primarily use general tax revenues to fund services that provide broad community-based benefits, such as public works services, public safety, and park maintenance, whereas fees and charges, which generally provide services that provide a direct benefit to a specific individual or business, such as plan review, permitting, and inspection services. So since 2016, regional inflation's increased by 21%. So in last fiscal year, a CPI adjustment of 5.93% was applied to most of the development and operational permit fees. So currently, for this current fiscal year, staff is recommending adjusting these fees by 14.51% in order to true up to the 21% CPI increase, as well as making strategic adjustments to certain fees in fire, community and library services. Just one thing to note is of the fees and charges that are included in the fee schedule, over 50% are not being recommended for adjustment. The majority lie in community development as well as in public works. So additionally, we have 4 new fees in finance and community development that are also being proposed at this time. So if the master fee and charges schedule is amended as proposed, then the general fund expenditures that are subsidizing these fees would decrease by $1.85 million, as well as provide a corresponding increase in available discretionary general fund revenue that can be used for other capital projects, equipment, and other city council priorities.
Sonny, can you expand on that last bullet point? Give some examples of what the city's been subsidizing that we will no longer be subsidizing?
Yeah, absolutely. So some of the examples are one new fee that's being proposed, which is credit card fees for finance. So right now, we have over $600,000 that are being subsidized on an annual basis. So when a customer comes in and they are paying for a permit fee, typically they'll pay with a credit card. We do not have a credit card processing fee that we apply, unlike some agencies, such as the county, and so the city really absorbs the cost of those fees. So depending on the level of the credit card that is currently they're using, the actual fee that's being charged to the city can range anywhere from 2 to 4%. So that cost is being fully absorbed by the city. And of course, if you have the option to use a credit card without having a surcharge, then you, of course, would use a credit card and be able to reap the points for that.
Right.
So that's one example.
No, I just want to communicate that to the residents that there's options to use e-check or other means to pay.
Absolutely.
So by just the city no longer subsidizing credit card fees, we'll be saving a substantial amount of money.
Absolutely, and those savings can be used for other services, such as public safety costs, capital projects, equipment, things like that. So,
thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so on that note, that's a great segue. So the first new fee that's being proposed is the credit card transaction fee. So I already went into that discussion in a little bit of detail, and so with that, the fee that we're proposing is a percentage-based fee of 2.29%, and that's currently the fee that's being charged by the County of Orange. So we wanted to make sure that we were in line with other agencies in the area. So the projected decrease in the subsidy would be $252,000 for the general fund, with an overall decrease in subsidy of $617,000 for all funds. So that would also be for other funds such as water and sewer. So one of the other fees that we're also proposing to adjust is also the fire fees, and I apologize because this is a little bit out of order. but we are proposing to adjust the junior lifeguard and sand crab program fees, and that's F142 and F143.3. So this proposed increase in the fee would bring the cost to average market rate. So this is one of the few fees that we are adjusting that are not necessarily development related, and that is just largely due to the fact that our current fee is well below the market rate of surrounding cities. So just as an example, you can see that a comparable program is run in Newport Beach for a similar length of time. However, the benefits that they provide are uniforms and a swimsuit, whereas we provide an annual parking pass that's worth $150, and then we also provide field trips as well. So our thought is kind of that we provide a lot more benefit through our program, which runs for the same amount of time, and it's also for a substantially lower cost. So we're thinking about bringing that close to the market rate. One other thing I did want to note in the master fee and charges schedule is that there were some fees that we were initially going to bring forward, which were fire lifeguard tower fees. Those were included in error. So those are fees F263 to F266. So we would like to do some further analysis on those fees before bringing them forward to council consideration. So we would want to remove those fees from the schedule. So if the junior lifeguard fees are changed as proposed, then there would be a projected decrease in the general fund subsidy of $126,000. So next, we also have additional new fees that are proposed by community development. So we have the public notice fee, and that's a proposed fee of $518, which is the same as the fee that's currently being charged by the city of Newport Beach. And so that would recover all the costs related to public hearing for certain planning entitlements. And in fiscal year 21-22, planning received 130 applications that would trigger a public notice fee. And we conducted a total of 63 public hearings. So the fee that's being proposed would cover the cost of newspaper public noticing, postage, as well as staff time associated with these costs. So then the next fee that's also being proposed is a conceptual project fee, and that's a fee of $1,000 that's being proposed to recover the costs of staff time relating to initial meetings with developers regarding conceptual projects that are not yet ready for submittal. So as you can see here, there are some other agencies that are currently charging the fee in the surrounding areas. So we have Anaheim, and we also have Costa Mesa, Irvine, Mission Viejo, and Santa Ana. So the final new fee that's being proposed by community development is also the Development Assistance Team, or DAT fee, and an hourly rate of $212 per hour is being proposed to recover costs of interdepartmental staff time relating to reviewing new applications for development. So this is a group that meets on a monthly basis, and it includes staff from community development, fire, police, public works, and community services. There is a fairly lengthy review and a fairly large amount of staff time that's involved in doing this review. And in a number of cases, these projects do not necessarily move forward, so we would like to recoup those costs. One thing we did just want to also mention as well is if these applications do move beyond this initial stage, then any fees that they would be charged would be credited back to the developer for other fees related to the project.
And Sonny, just real quick, in my private sector business, as a real estate developer, these fees are standard across the industry. So we just haven't been charging them as a city. And most of these fees are user fees, so people coming into our city trying to do business. And for us not subsidizing them is kind of the main takeaway from this presentation.
Absolutely.
Right.
If I could just add, they're voluntary fees too. So you're not forced to pay the fee. It's only if you want to use the service.
Correct. Yes, thank you. So next we'll be going over some fee updates that are being proposed by community and library services. So we are looking at the Huntington Beach RV campground. So we are looking at making a number of changes in this area. So one is to adjust the camping season to begin the day after Labor Day through May 31st. So additionally, there has been, we've done some surveys and we have noticed that there is demand to have an additional month of camping. So additionally, we would also propose adjusting the site lock fee from $5 a day to $10 a day. So that's a benefit that allows campers to reserve a specific spot, particularly if they're camping with family or friends, they would be able to reserve 2 campsites next to one another. Additionally, just in kind of looking at some comparable rates in other RV parks, we are proposing to adjust the weekend and holiday rates by additional $15 a night. So if you look at the chart below, you can see that there's some other comparable resorts in the area, or RV campgrounds in the area, such as Bolsa Chica, Waterfront, Newport Dunes. And there's also a list of the amenities that are provided by each area. I think one thing we also wanted to note as well is that for our RV campground, it is beachfront. It does offer a great walkability to downtown, to Pacific City. So, we do feel that that's a fairly unique benefit that is provided by our particular campground. So if all of these fees are adopted as proposed, then the increase in general fund revenue would be $180,000. So the other fee that we're proposing to increase is also the monthly downtown employee parking pass. So that's currently a monthly pass rate of $20 a month. It has not been changed since 2009, and we're proposing to increase it by $25 a month. So this is available only to employees of downtown businesses only. And one thing is, especially with challenges in hiring, we have noticed that some businesses do also, subsidize this fee as well for their employees. It's kind of a hiring incentive. So if this fee was approved, then there would be an increase in general fund revenue of $20,000. Some of the other fees that we're recommending for adjustment are also the Huntington Central Park Sports Complex parking. So this rate has not increased since 2004. So currently the daily rate is $1 a day, and we are proposing to increase it to $2 a day. There would also be corresponding increases in the season pass, the annual pass, as well as oversized vehicles as well. So they would all essentially double in price at the same rate. If approved, the projected increase in annual general fund revenue would be $102,000. So the next item for consideration is also the annual beach parking pass permit. And the general rate has not increased since 2009. So, as you can see, just kind of one thing to note is that these rates are lower than the rates that are currently being proposed by the state beach. So we wanted to bring these rates closer to this, in line with the state beach rate, which is currently $200. So we would want to bring that general rate in line with that. And then similarly, we would also want to have slight increases to the senior rate as well as to the disabled persons rate and the oversized vehicle rate as well. One other thing to just also note that we are proposing, just due to demand and congestion in downtown during some of our large-scale events, we would propose also doing a blackout period of 6 days a year. And that would be for the 4th of July parade, and then 2 days either immediately preceding or following the event. Those would be selected by the Director of Community and Library Services, as well as the 3 days of the air show. So if adopted as approved, then the projected increase in annual general fund revenue would be $362,000. So one thing to note just with this, these blackout dates that we're proposing is these would be rolled out in July, and they would be rolled out as new passes are being issued. We feel like that would give people plenty of time to be able to, receive the messaging and to be able to get a new pamphlet kind of indicating, which dates would be excluded from parking. So we wanted to make sure that residents, that users of the pass would be able to be notified in a timely fashion. So the other rates we're also looking at adjusting are also hourly parking rates. So our hourly parking rates were last adjusted in 2021. And so we're looking at making some proposed market rate adjustments, which would increase hourly rates by 75 cents an hour in the off-peak season and between $1 to $1.25 in the peak season, kind of depending on the parking zone. Additionally, a new special event rate of $2 an hour is also being proposed for the same 6 days per year, including the 4th of July, either 2 days preceding or following, as well as the 3 days of the air show. If adopted as approved, then the projected increase in annual general fund revenue would be $2.7 million. An additional proposed change that we would also make as well is to include meters at 400 Main Street block. So if approved, we could add 42 additional metered spaces along the 400 block of Main Street. Prior to engaging in this event, staff would proactively meet with local businesses just to obtain feedback and to get their thoughts on this project. This would result in a one-time meter purchase cost of $23,000, and there would be a projected increase in annual general fund revenue of $148,000. So this kind of just shows a market comparison summary of some of the rates in the area. So as you can see, our proposed rates are highlighted in blue at the bottom. And you can see that we are still well below some of the rates proposed by some of the other agencies, such as Newport Beach. So. Okay, and then this final slide just shows kind of a summary of all of the proposed changes as well as the fiscal impact of each proposed change. So you could see that, if all of these changes were adopted as approved, then there would be an annual increase in general fund revenue or decrease in subsidy of $4.7 million, and then the estimated all funds impact would be just a little over $5 million. So our recommended actions tonight would be to adopt Resolution 2023-21, modifying the master fee and charges schedule. Also approve for introduction Ordinance 4292 to make adjustments to the metered parking rates, as well as to the 400 block. And then, if approved, the changes to the master fee and parking schedule would take effect on July 1st, just with the exception of the unattended parking lots and the HB campground fees, which would be effective May 27th. And then the hourly parking meter adjustments would take effect on June 15th. The adjustments for the HB campground fees differ just because we do also take reservations right after Labor Day, or right after Memorial Day. So we want to make sure that campers have the max amount of time to make reservations. So if we do move forward with extending the camping period. And so with that, we're open for any questions. With me as well is David Schroeder. He's a senior consultant from ClearSource Financial who assisted us in preparing this fee schedule. And so I just want to open it for questions.
So I have to open up the public hearing?
Of course.
So open up public hearing. Go ahead, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Mayor. So I just want to make sure I understand the CPI increases. So is that across the board, or is that just on the the economic development or community development fees?
So it is primarily on community development. So we had 508 fees that were being proposed for adjustment on CPI. So there was one in the city clerk's office. There were 24 in the city managers. Those were largely, I believe, film permits. There were 214 in community development, 46 in fires, which were mainly permit fees, and then some in fire, which again are fire inspection and permitting fees as well. And then 71 in public works and 2 in police. So these were all largely permitting and inspection fees.
Yeah, okay. Because I do have some concern about fee increases that would apply to the typical working family. So what I am thinking about is things like the increase in fees for junior guards, and beach parking passes, blackout dates for beach parking passes. Do we have a sense for how, with the parking meters, like what percentage of people are residents who use those versus visitors?
For parking meters?
Yeah.
Or for, I don't have that information readily available. I don't know if we can look into it, though.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Any more
Open the
questions?
public hearing.
All right.
It doesn't, okay.
Yeah.
Clerk,
so-
do we have speakers on this?
No, we have no one signed up. We did receive one email communication on the master fee and charges schedule. So you can close the public hearing. There's no one.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Councilman Kalmik.
Thank you. I appreciate staff digging through all of these. I'm not really excited to have to raise fees on folks, but a lot of this is we're subsidizing services that we provide, and I definitely support 100% cost recovery in a lot of areas. One of the, obviously, I did have concerns about junior lifeguards, but we talked a little bit about that with some staff, and that there are scholarship programs available for folks, and actually they just got into the lottery tonight for fireworks, so hopefully that can help fund some of that. And my understanding is that the fees were reduced prior to COVID, if you could talk a little bit about that?
They were reduced prior to COVID.
Okay, so this just kind of puts us back up to where they were prior to that?
It puts us back up and slightly above.
Slightly above.
So just to also account for the increases in staff time, increases in staff costs as well.
Okay.
So
that's right, 'cause
related to the program.
we have our lifeguards that are administering the program, marine safety folks.
Mhm.
And I am glad to finally see that we've are going to stop subsidizing credit cards. That's something I think that was talked about like 20 years ago and then just kind of disappeared at the time. I think we hit a recession and didn't want to start that game again. So I think this is great. Feedback, I'd love to see us take a look at a gate charge for events like at Bolsh Chica State Beach and what that would look like in some way, shape, or form going forward. Because right now, if there's a concert at one of the state beaches, we kind of have all the spillover that we have to deal with our services that cost us a non-zero amount of money. And I know Anaheim was looking at something, but Mickey Mouse showed up and said we don't want that. So they kind of, I think, killed that one. But I think it would be interesting to see what type of revenue that would generate, if there's enough concerts for it to even be worth the time, or if it would have to go to the vote of the people along those lines. I think when we do our our full study, and when do you anticipate doing like the full master fee study longitudinally, so we can support maybe a higher charge for credit cards, for instance, since I think 2.29 seems rather low based on what most people are charging right now.
Agreed. So right now we're planning on kicking off a full fee study in late summer.
Late summer, okay. And how long will that take to resolve?
I'd say 3 to 6 months.
Okay,
So,
so probably by-
it depends on the number of new fees we may also want to include and the amount of analysis that may need to be done for
So
those
by
as
budget
well.
time next year, probably we'd have a new setup for that. Okay, great. All right, thank you. That's all I had.
Go ahead, Councilman.
Thank you. I also appreciate the fact that we're moving towards cost recovery for these particular fees. I do have 2 questions. One of them I think you pretty much just answered. With regards to the credit card fees, looking at the 2.29%, you had commented on that it is quite a range of the fees, so we're not really going to be fully recovering those. So I know we're going to be looking at the longitudinal study, so I imagine we'll be able to see really what the delta is between the recovery we're getting here versus what's actually being charged.
Yes.
Okay. And then second, with regards to the junior lifeguard fees, when would those be implemented? Would it be this year or next?
So it would be next year.
Okay, good. Because I was just concerned as a parent who
Absolutely.
tries
no,
to...
so because
Okay.
all
To
of the
plan.
catalogs have already been printed, we would not incorporate this until next year.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Just, real quick comment. Just appreciate the work on this. We're facing challenging financial times ahead in the coming years. So this was a good exercise that we worked on to, as Councilmember Kalmik mentioned, just remove subsidies. So full cost recovery and then just optimize our tourism industry, which I feel we need to harness even more moving forward. So just a really good first step. So I appreciate the work, but there's obviously more work to be done.
Thank you.
Will from the committee.
I'll go ahead and move the item as amended, I guess.
As amended to remove the lifeguard tower fees?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Kalmick?
Pass.
Mosher?
Aye.
Vandermark?
Yes.
Strickland?
Pass.
McKeon?
Yes.
Bolton?
No.
Burns?
Aye.
I'll return to you. Kalmick? Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
I'll vote no.
Strickland?
I'll vote no.
You vote no. All right, so the item passes 5-2. Council members Strickland and Bolton voting no, as amended with the lifeguard fee identified. I have to read for the record the title of ordinance number 4292, an ordinance of the City of Huntington Beach amending Chapter 10.60 of the Huntington Beach Municipal Code relating to on-street parking meter zones. Thank you.
All right, members, we're on to file item 32. Staff, please introduce your report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Code Enforcement Supervisor Jimmy Hong will be providing this presentation. We're just switching seats here, pulling up the presentation. One moment, please.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. We're here tonight for the annual weed abatement public hearing. Just a quick recap on the program. On April the 4th, 2023, the City Council adopted resolution number 2023-12 to declare weeds, rubbish, and refuse on private properties in the city as a nuisance. The affected properties were identified through document research and field inspections. Between April the 10th through April 20th, the affected properties were posted with a notice to destroy weeds and remove rubbish and refuse. In addition, letters were sent to the private property owners advising about tonight's public hearing and the annual weed abatement efforts. Tonight is the public hearing to hear about objections to the program. By May 23rd, private property owners are asked to clear the weeds on their own properties. Around May 24th through June the 9th, the city will conduct abatement of all other remaining properties not cleared by the owner. Around July 14th, the cost per parcel will be posted on the council bulletin board. At the August 1st City Council meeting, the City Council will be requested to certify the clearing cost for the inclusion on county 2023 through 2024 tax roll as a one-time special assessment per parcel. And only the parcels cleared by the city will be charged a fee. And that concludes the staff's presentation. We're available for any questions or comment. Thank you.
I have to open up the public hearing. All right.
We have no supplemental communication and no one signed up to speak.
Okay. Close the public hearing. And then, council members, do we have any questions?
Nope.
Any motion?
I'll go ahead and move the item, and thankfully somebody didn't have to sit through 4 hours of public comment like they did last year to make a appeal, so I'll go ahead and move that.
Okay. It's been moved.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Kalmick?
Aye.
Mosher?
Aye.
Vandermark?
Yes.
Strickland?
Aye.
McKeon?
Yes.
Bolton?
Aye.
Burns?
Aye.
Approved 7-0.
Okay, it's been approved. Members, we're now on adjournment. Do I have a motion to
I have
adjourn?
a point of order.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to actually make a motion to agendize for the next meeting, the second reading of the Builder's Remedy Ordinance. It disappeared with no real explanation as to why the second reading wasn't done, so I'd like to agendize it for the next hearing to have an up or down vote on that item. Thank you.
Are you bringing it forward?
I'm making a motion to put it on the next agenda.
So you're going to present?
No, I'm making a
You will have
motion.
to present if you're making the motion.
I don't think that's accurate.
I think that is.
No, I think that under procedural rules, there was this, it was a
City attorney?
item and it never showed up on the second agenda.
City
so-
attorney is, that was my understanding, but city attorney?
So no, the council member would not have to present. He could ask if the council directed the city manager to put it on the agenda. It could be
Okay, all right.
majority of the council.
Okay, that was my understanding. All right.
Do we have,
I'd make a
we
second.
need a vote on that? A second? Okay. Can we take a vote?
Yeah, take a vote.
Okay. Councilmember Kalmick.
Aye.
Mosher.
Aye.
Vandermark.
Abstain.
Strickland.
Abstain.
McKeon.
Abstain.
Bolton.
Aye.
Burns.
Abstain.
So then, that would fail then, correct?
Yeah, so it's not agendized. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion.
Motion, second.
second.
We're, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? We're adjourned.
So you're